He's an old head.
Youngins are really starting to get on my damn nerves.
He's a purveyor of nonsense.
Awful.
He's a Georgia high school coaching job influencer. His favorite Bible verse is Jesus wept. He's the man of constant sorrow, Chris Lamb.
Yeah.
Sun Coaches is proud to partner with Titan Sports for the next 4 seasons on Sun Coaches podcast. Titan GPS delivers technological superiority and improved player performance through wearable GPS made for high school football and strength and conditioning. From speed training to athlete recruit to workload enhancement, Titan is the easy-to-use yet comprehensive GPS tool to get it done. There's no minimum to get started, and Titan will walk you through every step to success. Message us on X at Titan Sensor to learn more and get in touch. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, and today got a buddy of mine that coaches down at Royal Palm Beach High School in Florida, Coach Chuck Kenyon. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Coach. It's a pleasure.
Well, Coach, just like I started everybody off with, tell us about where you grew up.
I grew up in a little town in the middle of the state of Florida, Haines City, Florida. Haines City High School was my alma mater, and just grew up there. Actually lived in a 19-foot travel trailer for the better part of my younger days, and then went off to college. So it was a fun time in the middle of the state, but I was ready to get out. I'll tell you that. It was small town. We were surrounded by citrus groves, so it was like a lot of oranges, a lot of grapefruit around us. So there wasn't much of a childhood entertainment, if you will. So we had to, when we got of age to drive and everything else, my buddies and I would get in the car and we'd drive up to Orlando usually.
So what all did you play in high school?
So I played football, basketball, and baseball.
So did it all, just normal small town, small school
Yes,
dude.
I was and every season rolled into the other one, football.
Oh, yeah.
and then basketball would be starting and we'd have to try out again, just while the other kids are already playing, and then basketball would roll into baseball. So I did football, basketball, and baseball. Yes, sir.
So where'd you go? Where'd you end up going to college?
I went to college at Lindenwood University, which is in St. Charles, Missouri.
Ooh, that's far.
So a funny story is
probably
one of
cold
my buddies,
too.
It was very cold from Florida. Funny story is one of my buddies that I went to college with was from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Ooh-wee.
So he went as far south as I went as far north. So because St. Louis is kind of equidistant between the two, and I used to kid with him that he had 3 days of summer and it usually rained 2 of the 3. So it was one of those things. But yeah, no, St. Louis was good to me. Every so often, especially during the springtime, we would I had a class with one of the defensive tackles. And we used to, every so often, we would cut our sociology class, and we'd go watch the St. Louis Cardinals play an afternoon baseball game.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Man, that's just crazy that you end up from the middle of Florida to the middle of Missouri.
It was on a whim, to be honest with you, Coach. That I was actually going to go to Carson Newman in Tennessee. And then I got wind of this newfound program that they were building at Lindenwood, and it was the whole mystique of, hey, come help build the program. There were 9 of us from Florida that went up there, couple from Middleburg, couple from Tampa, kid from Dunellen, and we all went up there, and we all actually got a starting position, all 9 of us. And then there was about 13 people from Texas, and then there was a lot of local people from around the St. Louis area.
I got you. That's cool. So when you got out of college, did you know you were going to be a coach the whole time, or did you go to major in something else?
No, I majored in business. I actually got out of college and took a job, kind of took a job in the business world. Just it was really the finance for home loans and that type of thing, and didn't really like that much. Actually, my sister got me the job right out of college, so I appreciated that, but that just didn't have what I wanted. So I bounced around a couple of odd jobs here and there, and then I actually got a job at Disney as a manager of merchandise at Walt Disney World, and I was working there when my high school coach, he was my head JV coach and he was a position coach. He gave me a call because Haines City at the time we were rolling. We were real good. We were third round of the playoffs one year, and Glade Central was coming up to play us. And he invited me to the game, so I came out and watched the game. And after the game, he told me, he's like, "Listen, I'm getting out of coaching at the end of this year or after this game." He's like, so he said the head coach at the time, Tim Hatton, he said Hatton was going to have a paid position open if I was interested, because I had always said I wanted to get into coaching. I just wanted to get back to it. And lo and behold, my 4-year degree got me to where I could actually teach for 3 years on a temporary teaching certification until I got my teaching certificate. And that's what I did. Started at my alma mater and worked my way up, and here I am as a head football coach now, 25 years later. This is my 26th year, actually.
So where did you go after Haynesville?
After Haines City, I actually got a job.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. After Haines City, I got a job with Sam Holland out at Chiefland, which is just west of Gainesville. I was there 2 years. Then I actually had a daughter that was living with her mom in the Clearwater area. So I actually got a job at Clearwater High School after Chiefland, and just wanted to get closer to my daughter. She was a toddler at the time, and I just felt like I had the draw to want to get closer to her. So I moved back to her, or close to her, and then I actually applied at Martin County while I was the defensive coordinator at Clearwater, and lo and behold, I put my name in the hat for the Martin County head football position and went over there and interviewed, and they offered me the position. I haven't looked back since.
So that was your first head coaching job?
That was my first head coaching job, was at Martin County High School in Stuart, Florida. I was there 12 years. After the 12th year, I didn't see eye to eye with my principal. Imagine that, right? He was taking some things away that it didn't sit well with me. So a position opened up at Sebastian River High School. So I actually applied there, and I got the job there for about a year and a half. And then I got a phone call from my buddy, David Vaughn, who knew Milan Turner, and Milan Turner was just getting the job at Veterans High School in Kathleen, Georgia. And lo and behold, I got the phone call, and he asked me, he's like, "Listen, I need to move pretty quickly on this. When can you get up here?" I got the phone call on Tuesday, drove up there on Thursday, was offered the job on Friday.
And that's how you came to be a beer baller with the guys I play golf with. Absolutely. Yeah, we moved up there, found a house in Statham's Landing, and then got to rub elbows with the guys that you rub elbows with. That was a treat. That was a treat. Coach, when we try to explain to people that if you want something fun to do, I mean, I'm not saying play golf like that all the time, but if you just want to have a good time and you don't want to play in a money game, and you just want to have a good time with your buddies and enjoy the game and get some practice in, beer ball might be the greatest golf game ever invented.
Oh, it has to be.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, 6 holes, 2-man scramble. Rules invented so that if you're not having a good day or if you're not good at golf, there are no hazards.
You can you can take your ball out of the sand.
Just have to say a John Wayne quote.
Yep.
The blowhole, if you're under 70 or under 270 and the ball's within the putter head length, get down and blow it into the hole. It's a continuation stroke.
I remember we were playing, and I don't know, somebody came out with shots, and we're sitting there, and I think one guy that we were playing with, he was on he was on his seventh shot of Jack Daniels, and he couldn't even see the ball straight. So he would take, I forgot what they called it, but he would take he would ask for a stand-in every single time.
Oh yeah.
He's like, "Hey, I'm calling for a stand-in." Yeah, you can. You listen, beer ball. I mean, you can make it up as you go along, and I think that was some fun times.
Well, you still got Doc Rosenbaum still playing.
Doc still plays.
Doc's still running the show. You got Doc.
Oh, wow.
Doc still playing. Pete still playing. Holderfield still playing.
Wow.
I mean, they're the original. All of them are still. It's the same. Rocco still playing. Randall Petrie. They're all still playing. I mean, and we've got a group me message thing now, and on Tuesdays, Randall sends it out, and you just say, I'm in, or I'm, for Friday, or I'm in for Saturday, and it's standing tee time, 1:00 on Friday and 12:30 on Saturday. And, sometimes we'll have 12 guys playing. Sometimes we'll have, 6. But, and either way, and they let Grayson play, which is what I enjoy. Grayson,
oh, that's great.
Grayson's a beer baller. So they let Grayson play, which is cool. And I mean, it's just a fun game. And when we met and you told me, you're like, I know those guys. I live there. I played beer ball. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome.
How crazy is it? How small world is it? You probably have not run into anybody else on the podcast that is playing beer.
No, I haven't run into anybody else that even knows. I'm sitting there going, yeah, you leave the flag stick in because if you hit it, it counts.
Yes.
And they're like,
yes,
what?
It counts.
And I'm like,
yes.
Yeah, man, there's all kind of great rules. If you both hit it out of bounds, just go to where the furthest one went in the woods and find any ball and just pull it out and play from there, and no penalty. There. Just keep going. Just keep going. It's a fun game.
I think it was more fun making up the rules, like making up what you can or what I don't want to say what you couldn't do, because how it was explained to me, there was no rules that you couldn't do.
Yeah.
So that was the thing. It was like that's why I was like, okay, I can't play that way all the time, but it was entertaining to say the least.
Yeah,
Scout. Randall used to crack me up.
Yeah, Scout still plays. Scout and Doc invented it. So I asked them, I said, how did this come about? And they're like, well, when we were in the service and we were just learning how to play, we were terrible. So we were like, hey, what can we do to make it fun and, still get better? And, because, is weird, the rules are there to help you if something bad happens, and very rarely do you have to use them, because most of the guys, they're actually pretty decent.
Yeah, they're good.
And there's 4 or 5 guys out there that are really good.
Yes.
Coach Pope is near scratch, and Hugh Darcy is, he played at Georgia back in the late 70s and early 80s, and he can still play.
Right.
And there's people out there that are single-digit handicap guys, and they never have to use any of the rules, but it evens out the competition, and it's fun. But so you were at Veterans, and we'll get back on track.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that was me. That was me. No, that was me. That was all me.
Well, it's hard. It's probably hard for you to find somebody that can relate to that.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Anyway, yeah, no. So I was at Veterans for 2 years, and then I actually had applied to Jenkins High School over in Savannah. The head job came open. And I applied there, and I sent my resume to the AD. But this is a crazy story. So the AD actually was leaving because he was the athletic director, but he was also the offensive coordinator at Jenkins at the time. And his name is Jeb Stewart. And
he's a good dude.
Yes, he is. And he actually got the head coaching job at Windsor Forest on the south side of Savannah. And so when I sent my resume in, he's like, listen, he's like, I'm not calling you about the head job over here. He's like, but I will tell you what I got. He's like, I am taking the head job at Windsor Forest, and I'm looking for a defensive coordinator, and I'd like to sit down and talk to you about the position. Now, at the time at Veterans, I was only a position coach. So I was like, I called my wife up and I was like, hey, I got an interview over in Savannah. And she's like, when do you want me to start packing? I mean, because when you're talking to anybody in the real world right now, if you say you're moving to Savannah, everybody's going to pack up because Savannah is a nice place to go.
Right.
It got to the point where, when I was going through the interview, she's like, when are you going to accept it? She kept asking me, when are you going to accept it? And I'm like, sweetie, he hasn't offered me the position yet. So, we had some hoops we had to jump through, but at the end of the day, took the position. We moved over to Savannah, moved out of, I loved our house in the Warner Robins area. We were, like I said, Statham's Landing is a nice place to be. But at the end of the day, we moved over to Savannah and actually ended up buying a house on Wilmington Island, which is, if you're leaving downtown Savannah, you head out towards Tybee. It's the island right before Tybee. Yeah. And it was a nice little place to live. I mean, 9 square mile island out there in the middle, and just had a real big time. So I was there for 2 years, and then some family situations happened where my wife looked at me and said, I think we need to move back to Florida. So I started looking for a head coaching job down here, and I actually interviewed for 2. I interviewed at Palm Beach Central, and then I interviewed at Park Vista. And I knew the guy at Royal Palm Beach because I had coached against him in an all-star game. And we became friends down the road. And he called me up and he said, listen, we offered a head coaching position to a guy. He's like, and I don't think it's going to work out. He said he had a feeling that he was going to back out. So I was like, well, listen, when you get that phone call, give me a phone call. I'll take the phone call. And then lo and behold, what was it? 3 years ago on St. Patty's Day, I get the phone call at 5 p.m. And if this tells you anything, I am Irish, and we were in New Orleans. We're on Bourbon Street in New Orleans at 5 p.m. And I'm just going to leave that at that. So I told him, he offered me the position, and I said, I'm going to take it. I'm going to accept the position on the contingency that I'm going to call you back tomorrow to confirm.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And that's how it went.
We'll discuss this at a better time.
And I'm just going to leave it at that, Coach.
When Irish eyes aren't smiling so much. Yes, I totally can relate.
Irish car bombs, a few Irish car bombs later, yes.
Yes. Yeah, my family came over here to Savannah, actually, straight off the boat in 1906. Both sides of the family. And so, yeah, I get it.
You can relate.
I get it. So, and you're still there.
And I'm still at Royal Palm. Yes, sir.
And y'all made the playoffs this year.
Coach, we haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. It's like the place has been. So the year before I got here, they finished with 27 kids on varsity. They didn't have a JV, and they went 1-9. They scored 29 points total that year, and they gave up 483.
That's kind of lopsided.
Yeah, that's kind of lopsided. And 17 of the 29 points was in one game. So I took over. The first year I was here at Royal Palm, we went 2-8, but we made some gains. our points for our points for tripled, and then our points against came down by almost half. And then my second year, our points for increased slightly again, and our points against decreased again. So we're we're making gains each year. And then this past season, I did a real good job of hiring some good assistant coaches, some guys tied into the youth programs around here, and we got some young players, some freshmen and some sophomores on the team this year, and we ended up going 7-4.
Man, that's
made
awesome.
the playoffs, and like I said, we made the playoffs for the first time in 10 years. So it was a big deal. It was a big deal around here.
Man, that's fantastic. Well, let's go back to your first head coaching job. And so what was that like?
So
like your first head coaching job, everybody says it's like drinking out of a fire hose. Would you agree with that? You think you know all this stuff and then you're really not ready.
I think the key is it's the misnomer of being a head football coach is it's not the X's and O's. It's everything else that comes along with it.
Correct.
And it's everything else that comes along with it. And if it doesn't work, if it doesn't happen, it's because you didn't allow it or make it happen. Like everything from what are we going to do for food on game day? What are we going to do? What's our travel to? What's our travel from? What time are we leaving? What time is the bus leaving? What time are we going to have practice? What time are we going to just, call practice? All those things. And then recruiting and everything else, off-season conditioning and weight room and all those things, all that is on you. And that's probably the biggest, set of hurdles that a new head coach has to jump over. So that's why I was fortunate, when I got the job at Royal Palm, because I've done it before. I built it before. So, I just told people, be patient, stay the course, and good things are going to happen. So year 3 with the same talk and with the same verbiage and with the same beliefs and the same structure and the same foundation, now we're starting to see the benefits. But I'll tell you what, I had a good time in Martin County. We took a team that went 2-8 the year before I got there. And then my first year there, we had a lot of seniors that played, as juniors, and I just had to put my little tweak on it. And we went, we ended up going 8-2 and won the district my first year there. So we really hit the ground running. Then the last 6 years that I was there, 4 out of the 6, we made it to the second round of the playoffs. 4 out of those 6 years. So we did really well for what we were given, and then the hands that we were given, because where we were in Martin County in Stuart, Florida was if you make it past the second to the third round, you're doing real good, because competition gets real good real quick. It's just like Georgia. Once you get into those Elite Eights and Final Fours, it's like the cream of the crop, where
everybody's good.
Everybody's good, and everybody has 7 or 8 guys that are signing D1 scholarships.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that. Tell me, besides the pay, because, a lot of people in Georgia don't fully understand how underpaid Florida coaches are. And not only from a coaching supplement, we won't even talk about the coaching supplements, but from a state teacher salary standpoint, most guys in Georgia do not understand, that are from Georgia. They don't understand that. They have no concept of how much less you guys get paid in Florida than we do in Georgia.
So it's crazy. So I have a master's degree in physical education. My master's degree in Georgia was a $7,000 pay increase, and in Palm Beach County, it's just over $3,000. for the same degree.
Right.
And then we our base salary doesn't start as high as Georgia does, and the steps don't go as high as Georgia does. And that's why the state of Florida is still continuing to this day to lose really good coaches to the state of Georgia, because they can pay them. But it's not only that, it's the backing, it's the administrative backing, it's everything. That from top to bottom is second to none. Just the budget that I have, I don't get a budget from the school, and I don't get a budget from the county. Everything I get, I have to raise. So luckily I have a principal that's really helpful in helping me, buy my 20 Speed Flex helmets that are $400 a piece now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those types of things, making sure that we have, new helmets, new shoulder pads, those types of things. New uniforms. I mean, we bought uniforms this year for the first time in 6 years. And our uniforms were ratty the first 2 years I was here. Luckily, I was able to get a principal that was signed off and willing to help me use some school funding to help me get uniforms. And then I actually reached out to one of my former players, Justin Simmons, who's playing for the Falcons now. I helped him in his football camp that he had down here, and I told him, I was like, man, I need some new uniforms. He's like, Coach, whatever you need, I got you. He's like,
awesome.
He's like, whatever you need. And I said, are you sure? And he's like, absolutely, Coach. He's like, I know what you do for your kids, because you did it for us. He's like, whatever you need. He said, I'll have my guy get in touch with you. And he sure enough, his guy got in touch with me and stroked a check.
Well, I remember when we hooked up down at the Nike in Orlando that you and Miss Coach Gina were, because she's just as involved in it as you are.
Absolutely,
and has to be, and keep you straight anyway. and y'all were we were all talking about fundraising. What are some things other than the normal car wash, and because you're going to do those anyway. But
right.
what were some big money ideas? And every place has a unique situation, what you can do, and like different fundraisers. I mean, like Brock Candy's up there in the Panhandle and at Dixie, or when he was at Dixie, and they're real rural and country, and he was like, well, I mean, our fundraisers are a little bit different than they would be in a city type area or metro type area. And I remember us sitting down talking about all that. And when y'all told me that you had to raise, that y'all didn't get any money from gate or, from your gates or from your county or from anything, that's just so outside of, our realm of normal in Georgia. It makes it made me realize every time I go down there, and I want everybody that hears this, that coaches in Georgia, to understand this, because we'll sit around and we'll complain about whatever. We're complaining about mouse crap when there's horse crap out there, bringing moose crap to worry about. Y'all are knee deep in moose crap, and we're over here complaining about mouse crap. And we'll complain about whatever. Oh, we didn't get this, we didn't get that. Well, at least we get our gates. At most places. At least, unless we're in a big city, big county metro place. I mean, there's a couple of places that kind of screw you, but most of the places in Georgia, you're going to at least get your gate. And y'all don't even get to have that.
Well, what they're doing is they're going to the centralized. So they piloted a program where they're piggybacking off of what Broward County did. And what Broward County does is they all the gate receipts, all the money for the gate go to the central location. And then you ask the central location, okay, I want to get these pads, or I want to get this, or I want to get that. I want to get these pop-up dummies, or I want to get this tackling sled, or I want to get this 5-man sled, or whatever. And they kind of bid that thing out. And then usually you get, you got to put what your priorities are. You know, I need this, I want this, I'd like to have this. You know,
Right.
and sometimes you get things and sometimes you don't. But you know, so I'll tell you, for our gate, they take they take a lot of percentage out of, well, they take percentage for athletics out. They have to pay for security, and then they have to pay for you know, obviously the officials, and then obviously the people who work it. But what was happening was our gate was so low that we weren't making any money because nobody wants to come to watch losing teams.
Right.
So in my infinite wisdom of scheduling this year I was able to finagle the schedule to where I had 4 home games and 6 away games.
There you go.
So next year, and everything is a 2-year contract. So next year
It flips.
we're gonna have 6 home games and 4 away games. The beautiful thing about that is we're hoping to be a little bit more competitive next year.
There you go.
You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now, you know, looking through the crystal ball, now I was like, okay, we, you know, 7-4 this year, 7-3 really, and we should have, like, legitimately should have been 9-1. But it is what it is. You know, sometimes, you know, you don't show up and you throw a few or you have a few turnovers out there, and then you struggle that night. And sometimes I love, you know, that we had one game that we literally just struggled all night. And I looked at my coaches sometimes and I'm like, guys, we put our livelihoods in the hands of 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. Sometimes you're going to have nights like this, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you try. It's not going to work. And you could flip and go 180 degrees off what you were doing, and it's still not going to work. And you're going to have some of those nights.
Yeah, they're kids.
And they're kids, and they're going to make mistakes. And it's like, so we had one game like that. Actually, we had 2 games like that. It just so happened that our second game like that was the freaking first round of the playoffs.
Well, that kind of springboards into my next topic, where I've had some people ask me, younger coaches wanted me to start asking guys, you know, what's your coaching philosophy? Like, what's your overall, I'm the head coach, and these things are what I want to make sure if you see a Chuck Kenyon coach football team, this is what you're going to see. Go.
That's a very broad question.
Yes, it is.
I will tell you this. What I really try to hone in on now is not so much the wins and the losses, but how we look and how we perform. I'll tell you, I got probably one of the biggest compliments I have ever received in that playoff game at Wiregrass Ranch. Where hold on, Coach, I'm sorry. So I got one of the biggest compliments I could ever receive from the officials that were calling our game. We were getting beat. Running clock. It was like 42-0 at the time, and something happened, and I went out onto the field as we were doing an exchange, and the guy, one of my kids, I don't know, did something, and I went out there and I got on to him. I was like, "We don't do that, son. That's not what we do. That's not how we do things." And I was walking, you know, back towards the sideline, and the official came over to me and he's like, "How long you been doing this?" And I was like, "Man, 25 years." And he's like, "It shows, Coach." He's like, "You do a real good job." He's like, "You're down 42-0 right now, and you're still coaching your kids up." He's like, "That's a class act." And I just, again, you know, I try to hold the kids accountable. Make sure we play hard, make sure we play tough. And at the end of the day, you know, I just let the chips fall where they may. You know, I mean, if we're successful, then, you know, the kids did it. My assistant coaches did it. And when we screw up, it's all on me. And that's how I do it.
So when you, I mean, you're obviously sounds like you've been a defensive side of the ball guy. I mean, do you have a prevailing defensive philosophy, or do you just look at your personnel and what can they do and adjust to them, or do you try to stay within?
I try to stay within a certain parameter. I'm a 3-3 guy. I learned a long time ago. I went to a coaching clinic in Atlanta, and listened to Charlie Strong, and he was the defensive coordinator at South Carolina at the time, and I think he was working for Lou Holtz as the South Carolina defensive coordinator, and he ran a 3-3 stack, and the reason why he ran a 3-3 stack was he's like, when you're going up against and playing Florida, every year, he said, recruiting at South Carolina, I can find one, maybe two blue chip 300 pounders, 6'1", 6'2", 300 pounders to play nose. He's like, but I couldn't find four. He said, so I couldn't put the guys in the middle. I couldn't find the guys in the middle to play two defensive tackle positions. So he went to the 3-3 stack. So he said what it did was it took one of the bigger guys off the field and put another athlete on the field.
Right.
And so I loved that aspect of it, because it was like, it made a lot of sense, because at where I was coaching at the time, we used a lot of our offensive linemen as defensive linemen. So, so it's an amazing concept. So I was like, okay, well, let me go ahead and try this and see if I can't walk this down the road. And lo and behold, that's what I did. And so, but it's crazy, because this past season, Coach, with the 3-3 stack, you got to have linebackers that can fill in blitz, because you're still putting pressure on the offensive line, but you got to have guys that are putting the pressure, from depth at the offensive line. Coach, I would call a play defensively, and my linebackers wouldn't go. And I'm like, how are you not going? So I ended up going, back to a 4-2, just to make sure that we could cover up, the two guards. And
Right.
So that's what we did this season. Now next season, we're going to go back to the 3-3 to see about, getting us situated to where we can find some guys that are going to have the gumption to be able to blitz when I need them to blitz. I mean, Coach, when I played, you didn't have to tell me to blitz. I mean, I was balls to the wall.
That's
I was,
right.
I had to. In college, my coach used to have to tell me to stop.
Yeah. Cover. You want me to cover somebody? What?
If I could tackle the quarterback, I don't have to cover that guy 25 yards down.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as far to go that way, Coach.
Exactly. That's
awesome.
That's like I said, it was just like, I was like, come on, why are we not going?
Well, so over 25 years, what are some things about the game, in the high school game that's changed that you don't like so much? Whether it's the way younger coaches are these days, or, kids, or the game itself. I mean, is there anything about it over the 25 years you've been doing it that you're just like, ugh? I'm not a big fan.
There's a few things. I don't like coaches on the sideline with backpacks on. Turn the game coaching. I don't like that. I don't like.
Yeah, I can see where that'd be frowned upon.
I don't like joggers. I don't like jogger pants. I'm big on both of those. I'm big on both of those. I don't. You know what I don't like? I don't like, and we're seeing this more and more and more. I don't like those guys running the score up. I don't like seeing scores, 60s, 70s, even 80s. I don't like that. It happened down here. There was a team that I think it was two teams were playing each other, and one team was obviously superior to the other one. Coach, they had 5 onside kicks. And during the running clock, they were hurrying up. They were running hurry up offense.
Yeah, that's not good.
I don't like that. Looking at the other sideline, there's parents over there, there's kids over there, there's families over there, there's coaches over there with families over there, there's an admin over there working. You don't just, those are some of the things you just don't do that.
No, I mean, there's ways that you can, and I'm all about, you can't tell your younger kids not to play and not to score.
No, absolutely.
But there's ways that you can especially with a running clock. You can slow the game down and not completely embarrass people. And yeah, that I agree with that. That's kind of ridiculous.
That's my philosophy. I try to make sure that we're doing the right thing. There was some this year we played against a couple of teams that early on in the season that we were better than, and there was one situation where we threw a deep pass that was a touchdown. It was like a 45-yard pass, but the concept was he was supposed to throw underneath, and he threw to a guy that was wide open down the field, and I'm like, what are you going to tell your quarterback? Hey, don't throw it to him. I mean, it's like I got a sophomore quarterback who's still learning how to play the game for lack of a better term. You know what I mean? It's like, and so I'm not going to sit there and tell him. Now, I told him, next time, make sure you throw to the check down, because that's what we wanted you to do. But, we just try to do the best we can with what we have. But those are some of the things that really bother me. The way some people talk to the coaches and the coaching staff, whether it's on social media or something like that, we put a lot of time and effort into this. You know what I mean? It's not like we just roll the balls out and say, here you go. This is our profession. This is our job. So for you to be very almost overcritical of what we're doing and how we're doing it. If I call a pass play and the quarterback throws the ball and the kid drops the ball, well, I'm a dumb coach for calling that play. But if the kid catches the ball, then I'm a great coach. And it's like, what are we doing and how are we doing this? I think the position should carry a little bit more respect than what it does.
Yeah, we're talking about high school kids too. I mean, they're not paid athletes, at least they're not technically. And
correct.
And they're high school kids. We're doing the best we can with what we got. And, I in this day and time, it's best just not. I mean, it's bad for me to say because I'm all over it, but I'm more about helping coaches and job stuff and things like that. But I could see where, if people just come at you and, they don't understand that, we don't come to your job when you're cutting grass and throw rocks at you.
Yeah. If you burn the lawn up, or you run over the sprinkler head, we don't criticize you or ridicule you for that. It's, it's one of those things where, like, everybody, I don't want to say everybody makes mistakes, but like we kind of do. But like I said, we put a lot of time and effort into this. We don't just roll the freaking balls out and say, hey, let's see if this is going to work.
Yeah.
Kind of
know what we're doing here. We're doing, we're doing the best we can with what you sent us.
Well, but the other thing is, coaches, is like, I tell parents, come out to practice. If you're not happy with your son's playtime, come out to practice. See how he practices.
I think that's great. I think, Coach, I think that's great advice to give a young coach, especially first-time head coach. I've done that for years, whether it was baseball or football. If you have a problem, come watch them practice. And after you watch them, don't let them know you're there.
Right.
Come watch them practice. And after you watch how they practice, if you still think we need to sit down and talk, I'll be glad to talk to you. I've never had one after they've done that. They've kind of given me the nod like, you're right.
Yeah.
After they've come and watched it, because they see it at practice and they're like, well, no, you can't put him out there doing that, coach.
No, it's unfortunate, but that's exactly what it is. It's like, look, if you have a wide receiver that can't catch in practice, doesn't run the right routes, and messes up when we put him in at practice, then we can't expect him to go out there in the game and all of a sudden, flourish and be a gamer, quote unquote, and be like, hey, here we go.
Well, you're setting that child up to fail. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's not fair to the kid. And then the other kids, they know,
Yeah. So, and so, yeah,
hard.
that's, It's very difficult. It's very difficult. But you know what? At the end of the day, Coach, I mean, we do the best we can with what we got. But you know, when I get that phone call from and I got one, it hit me in my heart, Coach. I got one this past week. Actually, it was on Monday, I think, from a kid that I coached at Martin County that's living in California now, has 3 kids, is doing well for himself. And he told me, he's like, you changed my life. He said, I broke up a fight in the gym, and I was taking this kid down to I was taking this young sophomore down to the office. And I was like, with all this pent up emotion and everything you got going on, why don't you come out and use some of that and play football? Because then you don't get in trouble for this.
Yeah, you can assault people and we like it.
Yeah, you can hit people and be okay. And he came out and he flourished, and he was one of my faster kids, and he went to. Now, Coach, he couldn't catch a football to save his life. I don't know how this happened, but he couldn't catch a football to save his life. We would hand him the ball on jet sweep, and he would bobble it. And sometimes he would fumble it, but he was running so fast that ball would do the little hop and come right up, and he'd catch it, and he'd take the ball around the end.
There you go.
Coach, this kid ended up going to a JUCO in California and became the 3rd leading wide receiver in JUCO in the state of California. Number 3 in the state as a JUCO. And I'm like,
they cured him.
They must have. It must have been bad coaching or something, because Coach, he all of a sudden becomes this phenomenal kid. So then he goes to this small school in Arkansas. They give him a full ride scholarship. He goes, he finishes out his 2 years, and they put him at DB. And I was like, didn't they know that you were, all state wide receiver in California? And he's like, yeah, Coach. But he's like, that's where they had the position open. So he came full circle, and he started using football to get what he wanted, not the other way around.
Exactly.
And he got his degree, and I'm so proud of him. And he's a good dad. He's a good father. And he said, Coach, he's like, you changed my life. He's like, I was going down the wrong path as a sophomore, and you changed my life. And I was like, and those are the things that keep us in this profession.
Absolutely, Coach. And I sure do appreciate you being on with us today. And I appreciate you changing kids' lives and taking them down to the office and telling them they need to come out onto the football field. No, really. I mean, because sometimes that's what it takes. It takes what it takes.
Yeah.
And it takes
right.
a coach seeing something in them that they might not see in themselves, and people like you to keep working with them. And after 25 years, still wanting to do that. And, I'm glad that we finally hooked up down in Orlando, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with everybody. And I can't wait to see you again, hopefully this spring or fall or winter, whenever we do the clinic. I hope you make the drive up and I get to see you there this year too.
Absolutely. We definitely have to make that happen.
And at some point in time, we're going to get together and play golf on the golf course. That'd be cool too.
Oh, that'd be real good.
And not beer ball. We'll play regular golf.
We'll actually try to hit the ball straight.
Well, Coach, thanks for being on with us. I sure do appreciate it.
I appreciate you and everything that you do, Coach. Thank you so much.